Ram, Hare Hare. Okay, so I think we're on verse what, 27 or 28?
32.
32?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yadrichchaya chupapanam swagadvaram apavritam Sukhina Kshatriya Partha Labante Yutam Idrisam. Okay, so, O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas, as to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Who wants to read? Second chapter, verse 32. Who wants to read?
Purport.
I want to read.
Okay, who's going to read?
Okay, it's coming.
Go ahead, Arush, you begin.
I can read.
Yeah, Arush raised his hand first, so we'll let him read the...
Come,
It's a short paragraph. It's short. Go ahead, read.
Should I read purport?
Yeah.
Krishna was a famous fighter, and he then
Okay, verse 32.
32.
As supreme teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemned the attitude of Arjuna, who said, "I do not find any good in this fighting. It will cause
Perpetual.
habitation in hell." Such statements by Arjuna were due to ignorance only. He wanted to become non-violent in the discharge of his specific duty. For a Kshatriya to be on the battlefield and to become non-violent is the philosophy of fools. In the Varsha Smriti or religious codes made by Varsa, the great sage and father of Vasudeva, it is stated, the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizen from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason he was to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of kings, and thus with religious principles he should rule over the world. Considering all aspects, Arjuna had no reason to refrain from fighting. If he should conquer his enemy, he would enjoy the kingdom, and if he should die in the battle, he would be elevated to a heavenly planet, whose doors are wide open for him. Fighting would be for his benefit in either case.
Okay. Yeah, if we look at the 11th chapter, 54th verse. Here, Prabhupada says that Krishna is the supreme teacher of the world. That's an important statement. And 1154, Okay. So it says also in the purport to 1154 in the fifth paragraph. It says, in the Vedic literature, Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.1, the following statement appears. Sachidananda Rupaya, Krishna Yak Nistakarine, Namo Vedanta Vedyaya, Gurave Buddhi Sakshine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Krishna, who has a transcendental form of bliss, eternity, and knowledge. I offer my respect to him because understanding him means understanding the Vedas, and he is therefore the supreme spiritual master. So you see, Krishna is the original teacher. As it said here, Prabhupada said in 232, the first line, as supreme teacher of the world, Lord Krishna condemns the attitude of Arjuna. So we have to understand that Krishna is the original spiritual master of all living entities. And anyone who claims to be a spiritual master must repeat Krishna's words. Now we have a criterion to see who is the real spiritual master and who isn't. What is the criterion? Criterion means a basic truth that you can use to test others. So, let's say someone comes and says, I'm a spiritual master. And he gives a lecture in which he never mentions the name of Krishna. And just talks about the light, eternity, happiness, freedom from stress, and so forth.
Doing good to others.
Do good to others, yeah. Is that person a spiritual? He said a lot of nice things. You know, how you become free from stress in the workplace. How many people come to Microsoft and give lectures like that? Huh?
Quite a few.
Yeah, quite a few. And some of them are supposed to be gurus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is such a person, okay, yeah, let's see, Augustine. Is such a person a guru?
No.
No. Why?
Because he doesn't.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Because he doesn't use the name of Krishna.
Well, I mean, some of them use the name of Krishna, and, you know, they'll say. Sometimes they'll mention it, but no, okay, he didn't mention the
He
name of
didn't
Krishna.
talk about anything Krishna said.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, you said that you have to be, if you claim
Hare Krishna.
If you claim to be a spiritual master, you must repeat Krishna's words, and
Yes.
he didn't.
He didn't repeat one of his words.
Yeah.
He just talked about,
Nonsense.
well, no, it's not complete nonsense. It's called sub-religious principles. You know what a submarine is?
Yeah.
What is a submarine?
It's a thing that goes underwater.
Right. So what do you think is a sub-religious principle?
A thing that's a waste.
No, something that is, yes.
Other than Hare Krishna, other than religion.
Well, no, the word religion it's called sub-religion. So what would that mean? So if submarine means underwater, what would sub-religion mean?
Below religion.
Yes, Augustia.
Under religion.
Yeah, in other words, it's
Low cost.
a very low level. Very low level. It's not really religious, but it's not actually unreligious either. So it's just a low level statements that have nothing to do with the essence. You know. Okay, so Now we know how to tell if someone's a real guru or a kangaroo. Right? Those people who don't talk about Krishna but claim to be gurus are kangaroos. Okay, yes.
Also, we should be careful. Sometimes they take the name of Krishna, but they'll get the wrong conclusion.
That's also
That's
true.
dangerous, and
It's
people
also
get
true.
misled.
Yeah, it's also true. No, so therefore, what is the baseline criterion then? You said it, Krishna. What would you say?
To repeat exactly what Krishna says.
Yes, exactly. And attribute it to Krishna, not attribute it to my grandfather said this. You know. Sometimes they'll use Krishna's words, but they don't attribute it to Krishna.
That's
Okay.
scientist.
Well, maybe. The
I mean, for the
philosophers.
science field, yeah.
Yeah, philosophers mostly sometimes do that. Okay, and then the second major point is another test to see if someone's a real guru or not, a real guru or a kangaroo, is if we look at, again, the 11th chapter, 54th verse, this time paragraph 6. Prabhupada says, the Brahma Samhita 5.1 says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindaha Sarvakarana Karana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Krishna, who has a body of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. He has no beginning, for he is the beginning of everything. He is the cause of all causes. So now is a second criterion. Criterion means something that is absolutely true, and you can use it to test other things to see if they're true or false.
Can
Okay.
you say the criteria again?
Number one criterion is if someone claims to be a guru, he must repeat exactly correctly Krishna's original words in Bhagavad Gita, for example. Right? And then now we have a second criterion. The second criterion is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. He has a body, a transcendental body that's made of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. What is, for example, what is your body made of? Huh? What do you say? Air, ether. Yes. And Reese's peanut cups. All right. So here is a second criterion. So some guru comes and he says, Lord Shiva this, and Mata that, and Ganapati this, and Hare Krishna. Ganapati this, and Surya that, and Hare Krishna, and Kartikeya or Murugan this, and Shani that. Okay. Is that person a guru? No. No, they're trying to deflect your mind from Krishna to all these demigods. So, or they're claiming outright that Krishna is not the supreme God, that Lord Shiva is, or Mata is. This is what Ramakrishna did. He, after being born as a Ram Bhakta, in the family of Ram Bhaktas, and being trained as a pujari for Lord Ramachandra, then his, I think his sister, his auntie, taught him the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He never learned how to read, but he was very sharp in hearing. So then he learned the Chaitanya Charitamrita about Lord Chaitanya and Harinam. And then he became a Shakta. Shakta is is worshippers of Lord Shiva. And then he came to the ultimate conclusion that Durga is the supreme god. You see how he went all over the place and ended up Durga is the supreme god. So is he a guru? No, he's a kangaroo. He fails the second test of guru, the second criterion. He doesn't come to the conclusion that Krishna is the supreme personality. Although he talked about Krishna. In fact, he said, in previous lives I was Lord Ramachandra, then I was Lord Krishna, and so forth. He said a lot of things, a lot of crazy things, and he's worshipped as like the top kangaroo of Bengal. We can't say he's a guru because he fails the test, all the tests, you know. So now we have a second test, okay? So what's the second criterion? What's the first criterion and what's the second criterion of determining who is a real guru as opposed to a kangaroo? Yes, Krishna.
The first criteria is to repeat everything Krishna says, and the second criteria is like Krishna.
Okay, criteria is the plural form in Latin. Okay, and criterion is the singular form. Okay, so the first criterion is, and the second criterion is, and therefore so far we have discussed two criteria.
Oh. So the second criterion is, I think that it's that Krishna has a body, but our body is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether. And
No,
then
that's the I stink. That's not an I think. There's a difference between I stink and I think. Second criterion is that Krishna is the cause of all causes. He has a transcendental body made of Satchitananda, and it's Vigraha, meaning body, and he's the cause of all causes. Okay, that's. His name is also Govinda. So you have to, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Prabhupada quotes that. Okay, now let's look at paragraph 3. Elsewhere it is said, we're at 11th chapter, 54th verse of Bhagavad Gita. Okay? Elsewhere it is said, Yatra Vatirnam Krishna Kyam Param Brahma Narakriti. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. His name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. In your yellow Bhagavad Gita, does it give the reference for that quote? What I just read. Does it give a reference for that quote?
No, bro, there's nothing else.
It just says, elsewhere it is said.
Yeah.
It doesn't give a reference?
No.
Yatra.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it give a reference?
Yeah.
Yeah?
In this one it is.
What does it say?
Elsewhere it is said Yatra.
I know, okay.
Vatirnam Krishna.
What's the reference?
Oh, the number.
Number meaning. It's not.
No. Okay, I know what it is. It's called Vishnu Purana 4.11.9. Vishnu Purana 4.11.9. The Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. His name is Krishna. And he sometimes descends on this earth. Okay, so now you have Brahma Samhita and you have Vishnu Purana, which both say that Krishna is the Supreme Absolute Truth. You see how Prabhupada is very precise, and he's giving us authentic Vedic quotes to back up what he's saying. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, you find a description of all kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this list, the name of Krishna also appears. But then it is said that this Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ete cham sakkalapum sa Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Okay, so now, we're hearing criterions that prove with Vedic quotes that Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though his name appears as an incarnation. This is where the Sri Vaishnavas have got it wrong. You see, so we're clearing up everything today. You know, this is like bowling. You throw the bowling ball down the alley, and all the pins get knocked down. What's that called when you do that?
Strike.
Okay, strike. Today we're going to do a full strike. So we knocked out Ramakrishna already, and now we're going to knock out the Sri Vaishnavas. Not that we don't like them. We like them very much. And they're worshiping Narayana, who is the expansion of Lord Krishna. And there's virtually no difference between Narayana and Krishna. They're the same person. However, by saying things that are not exactly right, it creates confusion. Here, Prabhupada is getting everything, is giving clear-cut criterion that's irrefutable. So he says, similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we find a description of all kinds of incarnations of Supreme Personality of God. It's in first canto, third chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this list, the name of Krishna also appears. Okay, in this list, the name of Krishna also appears. But then it is said that this Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ete chamsak kalak pumsa Krishna stu bhagavan swam. I once had a discussion with a person who comes from South India, and he said, the only verse you guys have that establishes that Krishna is the origin of everything is this Ete chamsak kalak pumsa. I told him that's not true. He said, what do you mean that's not true? So, I mean, I've studied. That's the only one I see. I said, no. Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavam. He said, that's Arjuna, you know. Well, he's not even a scholar, he's just a Kshatriya. Anyway, this verse, spoken by Sukadeva Goswami, who is the top authority, Vedic authority, you know. He expanded the Bhagavatam. He heard the Bhagavatam from his father while he was in the womb of his mother. Who was Sukadeva's father? Vyasadeva. So, when Sukadeva refused to be born, he stayed in his mother's womb for 16 years. Imagine that. But when his father spoke the nutshell verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva said, aha, now I have a reason to leave my mother's womb. What was his reason? Why did he say, now I have a reason to leave my mother's womb? Why? Because he heard Srimad Bhagavatam and he wanted to go and spread the word of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Sukadeva basically heard those 4 nutshell verses of the Bhagavatam, which are in the 2nd canto. And then he went and expanded it tremendously into what we know today. It's 18 volumes. Srimad Bhagavatam. So he's a top authority, Vedic authority.
So, Prabhu, what is Bhagavatam like? You know, when Sukadeva Swami was talking to Parikshit, is that whole thing in Bhagavatam?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
So how and what did he hear when he was in the womb?
It says he heard the Bhagavatam. My understanding is he heard the 4 nutshell verses in the Bhagavatam, and then he expanded it. Maybe that's not right, I'm not sure, I wasn't there, of course. But Prabhupada says that Sukadeva Swami expanded the Bhagavatam. One time, someone in France told Prabhupada about Jeanne d'Arc. Jeanne d'Arc. You ever hear of Jeanne d'Arc? Yeah. She was a woman who became a hero, and she helped defeat the British, who had conquered parts of France. And she convinced the King of France to let her lead his army. And she led the army to victory. And then she was captured by the British, who executed her. So she's a famous, considered saint, hero of France. So when he told the story to Prabhupada, Prabhupada listened carefully, and he said, this is Bhagavatam. The devotee said, what? He said, this is Bhagavatam. He said, we can add this to Bhagavatam. Because it's a story of someone who's a saintly person and who defeats, let's say, invaders, and so forth. So, he said the Bhagavatam is not just limited, it's expanding. In fact, right now, Vyasadeva is writing the Vedas for the next Satya Yuga. So that what's happening is that we think, there's page 1 and there's page 1000, and that's the end of the book, but not Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is expanding, right? Because they're all like Krishna's pastimes. Krishna's pastimes are unlimited. And Krishna's devotees also. Okay, so he says, but when it is said that this Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. So, this is the next criterion to know who is Guru and who is Kanguru. They definitely say Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the origin of everything. Sarva Karana Kananam. Okay. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, and that's the next paragraph, this is 1154, chapter 11, verse 54. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Matak Parataram Nanya. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead, Krishna. So, that's Bhagavad Gita 7:7. This is a direct statement by Krishna. He also says elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Adir Hidevanam. I am the origin of all the demigods, 10th chapter, 2nd verse. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms this in the following words, Param Brahma, Param Dhamma, Pavitam, Paramam Bhavam. 10th chapter, verses, I think it's 12 and 13. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form. So now, the American Indians and other people believe that nature is God. Okay. And they worship nature as God. And even some nonsense scientists, and if they believe in God, they say that nature is God. So that's also kangarooism. That's a new ism we have now, kangarooism. It's false. And Krishna is, in its original form, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Its original form is Shamsundar. Even the universal form is, by the way, the universal form is not eternal. Why is that?
The universe got destroyed.
Yeah, the universe sometimes becomes invisible, right?
Yeah.
So there's no universal form. Whereas Krishna's form is eternal. Okay, so here we went through different criteria proving that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the same time to understand who is a guru and who is not a guru. Okay. And a lot of people come to Seattle and they're touted or publicized as gurus. But they don't speak Krishna's words. Therefore, Now you know how to tell who is a guru, who is not a guru.
So Prabhu, I have a question.
Yeah.
There must be something like, I understand, like we need to look for the right guru, but the people who actually do this, they have something which people
Do
get
what?
attracted.
Do what?
I mean, they also have some kind of concept of God, and they preach something like Advaita or whatever the other gurus. There are so many gurus in India
Can't
like
say
this,
they're
and they have
gurus.
some power
Yeah.
that people at least get attracted. I mean, it's not like one,
Trump
two.
has
There are
power. Trump's the most powerful man in the world. You're going to worship him?
power, but people are not attracted. Like, I mean, they don't follow Trump.
No, a
Right?
lot of people are attracted.
Okay.
A plurality of the voters in America voted him as
I mean, they don't have choice sometimes, but this is voluntary, right? People
well,
are
power
following
is
somebody
not
just
power.
voluntarily.
Whoever has the supreme power, that's God.
Yeah.
Okay. Like for example, there was a big fire in Vrindavan, and the coward boys were afraid, and they prayed, Krishna help us. Krishna goes and swallows the fire. You know anybody else can do that? Like there's a big forest fire, let's say in California. Can the governor of California swallow the fire and make it go away? No. So Krishna has infinite powers. No one is equal. Even Brahma is so powerful. He got bewildered by Krishna. Indra, who's so powerful, he got bewildered by Krishna. You see? Lord Shiva, he's most powerful. He was defeated by Krishna. So we have to, I mean, whatever way you take it, power, beauty, wealth, knowledge, fame, Krishna has it all. Complete. There's no one that has more than him. No one is equal to or greater than him. So, but where your question is, these different gurus that come, and we're not talking about ISKCON gurus now, we're talking about the outside. They come and they have something that people are attracted to. Okay. And then what was your question?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, Kushima, like, how come people get attracted? I mean, there must be something which make them attracted. Right?
No, that's not your question. How come they don't accept Krishna, who's the most attractive?
Yeah, that's one thing, but
It's called ignorance, ajnana. They don't know. Like for example, let's say you didn't know that junk food is bad for you, and you became addicted to junk food. Right? And then when you had your first heart attack, someone told you, hey, you got to change your diet. You can't just eat junk food. You got to eat some broccoli. You got to eat kale. And then because you don't want to die, you suddenly said, okay, I'm not going to eat any more junk food. Right? But maybe 40 years you ate junk food. Right? For 50 years you ate junk food. Okay, so that's called ajnana. Even though you did it for 50 years. But then you suddenly realize it was a mistake. You shouldn't have done it. Or let's say for 50 years you smoke marijuana. Right? And then you get really sick. And then you realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So it was ignorance. So people who are become attracted, just because someone can pull, a gold bracelet, they say, what's in your ear? And they go like this, it's a gold bracelet. Say, oh, he must be Bhagawan. So it's called ignorance. That means you don't know anything about Bhagavan. Who made all the gold mines in the universe? Yeah. This guy's pulling a gold bracelet out of your ear. He's Bhagavan. Or you can do some ash, you go home, you put it on your fireplace, all of a sudden your business does better. You say, oh my God, it's because of the ash that he gave me. He must be Bhagavan. It's because you don't know. Look at all the ash Krishna just made in Guatemala. You see, you know how much ash he made in Guatemala with one eruption of a mountain? of a volcano, covering the whole country. So, but this other guy made gave you a little bag of ash like that, basma. Oh, he's Bhagawan because my business. As soon as I got out of my house, my business went better. It's all nonsense. It's called agyana. It's ignorance.
Prabhu, isn't it also the modes? Depending on the modes, people could attract it to different
Yes.
philosophies.
Okay. So then another point is a Kshatriya's duty. So you have Srimad Bhagavatam in your house?
Yeah.
So bring me 4th canto. So the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties. And for that reason he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus with religious principles he should rule over the world. So we spoke about this before, but I'm going to repeat it a little bit more. Gandhi was considered a saintly person, and he got mixed up in politics. And he's credited with kicking the British out of India, although it's not exactly true, but anyway, let's give him that credit. And that was considered a great achievement. But then India breaks up into Pakistan and India, and let's say 1 million people die. And then he's credited with that also. And then he gets assassinated by a Hindu. So you see, he didn't understand anything about being a king or being a political leader. So it says here, the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties. Was Gandhi able to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties? No. He caused difficulties. In one hand, he's credited with kicking the British out, but on the other hand, he caused so many difficulties, and India is still suffering due to those difficulties today. And it says, and for that reason, he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order, because he was afraid to do that. He was a coward, and he caused the death of so many people. So you see, people are not all good, and they're not all bad. It's a mixed bag. But Krishna is all good. Everything he does is good. Let's see here. I'm looking for chapter 20. I didn't see it. Must be the beginning. 20. Okay, chapter 20, verse number 14. Okay, here we go. In Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 20, verse number 14. You read in English. Which chapter? 14.
Shreya Pravasya.
Just read the English.
English. To give protection to the general mass of people who are citizens of the state is the prescribed occupational duty for kings. By setting in that way, the king in his next life shares 1/6 of the result of the pious activities of the citizens. But a king or executive head of state who simply collect taxes from the citizens but does not give them proper protection to as human beings has the results of his even pious activities taken away by the citizens, and in exchange for his not giving protection he becomes liable to punishment for the impious activities of his subjects.
Okay, that's what happened. That's the verse, right?
Yeah.
Okay, someone else read. That's what happened to the Shah of Iran. He was such a powerful man, He had a huge army, and he lost everything. Lost everything. And he ended up dying of cancer. Because he got 1/6 of the sinful reactions of the people. Because he made too many mistakes. The purport. Just read the purport.
Okay. The question may be raised here that if everyone engaged in spiritual activities to attain salvation and became indifferent to the activities of the material world, then how could things as they are go on?
Okay, so Prabhupada is asking a question. He said, look, if everybody became devotees, how would the world go on? Like, let's say, if everyone became a devotee, how would Microsoft go on? Right? And if everyone became a devotee, how would Amazon go on? Okay, that's the question. Go ahead.
And if things are to go on as they ought to, how can a head of state be indifferent to such activities? In answer to this question, the word Shreya, auspicious, is used here.
Okay, in other words, if the king becomes a devotee, now who's going to take care of the people? That's what he's saying. What's going to happen to the country?
The division of activities in society as arranged by the Supreme Personality of Godhead was not blindly or accidentally created, as foolish people say. The Brahmana must do his duty properly, and the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and even the Shudra must do the same. And every one of them can achieve the highest perfection of life, liberation from this material bondage. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18:45. Sve sve karmani abhiratah samsiddhim labhate naraha. By executing one's prescribed duties, one can attain the highest perfection. Lord Vishnu advised Maharaj Prithu that a king is not enjoined to give up his kingdom and the responsibility of protecting the prajas or citizens.
Yeah, just because someone's a devotee doesn't mean you give up your duties in life.
To instead go away to the Himalayas for liberation. He can attain liberation.
That's what Arjuna wanted to do.
Yeah.
He used Krishna consciousness as an excuse to get out of doing his duty.
He can attain liberation while executing his royal duties. The royal duty or the duty of the head of state is to see that the prajas or the general mass of people are doing their respective duties for spiritual salvation. A secular state does not necessitate a king or head of state who is indifferent to the activities of the prajas.
Read that again. Read that again. That whole sentence.
A secular state does not necessitate a king or head of state who is indifferent to the activities of
Does
the
not
prajas.
necessitate? Is he sure that's the word?
Yeah, does not necessitate a king or head of state who is.
Let me see that.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
Somewhere here.
Does not necessitate.
Okay. A secular state does not necessitate a king or head of state who is indifferent to the activities of the prajas. So,
What does this
in
mean?
other words, it says, even though you have a secular state, meaning you do not favor any religion, it doesn't mean that the king should be indifferent to the activities of the prajas. In a modern state, the government has many rules and regulations for conducting the duties of the prajas, but the government neglects to see that the citizens advance in spiritual knowledge. Well, yeah, if it's a secular state, why would they even be concerned about spiritual knowledge? By the way, this is pertinent to today. I was listening to a person on the radio, and he said, in the 1980s, they stopped prayer in public schools. When I went to school, every morning, the first thing we did when we came to school, I remember I was in like 7th grade, we read the Bible. And then one day, I went to school and the teacher was really upset. And he said, because of the mismanagement of the public school system, we are not going to have a Bible anymore. And he was really upset. And all the nonsense kids in the room started laughing, and then they were snickering, they were real happy. You know? And I was just sitting there thinking, how come? It was nice reading the Bible in the morning. So, this person on the radio today is saying that since that time, the moral and ethical behavior of children has degraded in the United States. Where things are happening today that never happened before, such as massacres by school kids in schools. It never happened before. But as soon as, I think 13, 14 years ago, the Columbine massacre, that was like the first big one. Since then, it's become almost a normal thing, part of school. In fact, when your kid goes to school nowadays, you say, well, hope you did your homework. Yes, Mommy, I did my homework. And have a good day in school. Yes, Mommy, I'm going. And please come home alive. That's what people are saying nowadays. They don't know if their kid's going to come alive back from school. Right? These public schools have become, they are free range for maniacs because they don't allow guns in public schools. So what's the one place that a maniac would go to kill someone? In a place where guns are not allowed because there's no one there to stop him. Okay, so this person was speaking today on the radio. He said, since that time, the moral development of children has declined in the United States. And also, the incidence of suicide has increased 30%. He's making a comparison between the degradation of religious teaching in schools to the moral degradation of kids, violence in society, and suicide. He's connecting them all based on that, because if you grow up without any spiritual teaching, there's nothing to hold you back from doing crazy things. In fact, there's a saying, be afraid of that man who's not afraid of God. Because that person can do anything. So by teaching these kids to be atheists in the public school system, they are preparing them for moral degradation. Teaching them that you can have 2 daddies or 2 mommies, or you can have 3 daddies and 6 mommies, or whatever. Then nowadays going crazy, or now there's LGBT, Z, Zoo, U, X, Y, Z, L, M, N, O, P, O, Poo, Ba, Wa, La. These are all different types of genders now you can identify with. Right? It used to be LGBT. Now they call that insensitive. So for it not to be insensitive, now LGBTUGJHLMNOPQURSTYZ. These are all different types of genders that people are officially identifying with. You see. So all this nonsense that's being taught in schools is leading to moral degradation, to extreme frustration, even though there's social media. Social media is supposed to connect people, right? It makes people more isolated. And it leads to more violence, more moral degradation, and more suicide. So we should think about this. This is a fact. It's not. What's the only thing that changed in America? They stopped teaching the Bible in school. They stopped giving spiritual education. They used to give spiritual education in public schools, at least by reading the Bible every morning. So now the question is, oh, well, it's unfair to the Jewish kids and to the Muslim kids and to the atheist kids. Why should it be the Bible? Why don't you read the writings of Mark Twain? Oh, you can't read Mark Twain because he's writing about a black kid, which is racist. So now, what do we read? Well, we'll read about black history, American Indian history, and things like that. Don't teach the Constitution. Don't teach anything about American history. It's all bad. So, you see, but yeah, that's true. American history is all bad. Black history is all bad also. But what about learning about spiritual things, and morality, and hearing about people who value honesty, faithfulness to God, and so forth. So we see that there is a correlation between the lack of spiritual teaching in public schools and violence, moral degradation, and suicide, and frustration, let's say. If the government is careless, so Prabhupada is saying, a secular state does not necessitate a king or head of state. Oh, I know why this sentence is strange. It says, a secular state does not necessitate a king or head of state to become indifferent to the activities of the prajas. If it was stated like that, the sentence makes sense. But when it says, a secular state does not necessitate a king or head of state who is indifferent to the activities of the prajas. So that instead of saying who, if you say not become, right, a little bit more clear. In the modern state, the government has many rules and regulations for conducting the duties of the prajas. But the government neglects to see that the citizens advance in spiritual knowledge. That's the whole point.
Yes.
That is the whole point. America legislated that no spiritual teaching should be given in schools, at least public schools. And now, oh yeah, by the way, one guy called in to that show, to that program, and he said, I was born in a family of educators in California. I remember the day my father came back from work, from his school, and he said, the liberals and progressives are taking over the Democratic Party. His father was a Democrat. He was a conservative Democrat. He said, they're taking over the Democratic Party, and their agenda is that they're going to change the whole way we teach our kids in school. And he's talking from real experience because his father was an educator in California schools. He said, they're going to teach our kids, they're going to completely eliminate any spiritual teaching in the schools and train the kids to become atheistic and hedonistic, if you know what that word means. So this happened today, right? And people are tuning in because they're seeing that suicide is going up, violence is going up, and there's moral degradation, and trying to figure out what is causing this. Right? And of course you have digital technology, video games, more violent movies, and so many things that weren't there before, but now they've become commonplace for everyone. If the government is careless in this matter of seeing that the citizens advance in spiritual knowledge, the citizens will act whimsically without any sense of God realization or spiritual life, and thus become entangled in sinful activities. So you see, Prabhupada is right on to the money here. He wrote this 40, 50 years ago, maybe 70 years ago. But he's exactly has analyzed the problem, because he saw with his own eyes what happened in India. As soon as Nehru took over, he secularized everything. And it's led to the degradation of the people. An executive head should not be callous to the welfare of the general mass of people while he simply goes on collecting taxes. The king's real duty is to see that the citizens gradually become fully Krishna conscious. Krishna conscious means completely free from all sinful activities. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit activities. Always chant Hare Krishna. Read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. and regularly come to the temple and take only prasad. This is what the king should do. He's not there to collect taxes. Like the city of Seattle, what do? They just keep finding new taxes all the time. California, what do? They just raise the taxes. See, now there's a big exodus of people. A lot of people are leaving California, more than ever before, and New York, because of something Trump did in his tax law. He eliminated deductions. Like California, you pay income tax to the federal government and you pay state tax to California. If you pay state tax to California, you can deduct it from the income tax you pay to the federal government. He eliminated that. So now people are moving out of New York and California. They're going to move somewhere else, to other states that don't have state tax. Oregon has a state tax. Fortunately, Washington has not and never made a state tax. In other words, you're being taxed twice. But that's one reason I left California years ago, because you had to pay two taxes, federal government and California tax. And at that time, you couldn't deduct it. And then they changed the law saying you can deduct it. So then, if that was the law when I was living in California, I probably would have stayed there. But I figured out, well, I'm not going to pay tax twice. Why should I pay? Who cares about paying tax to California? As soon as there is complete eradication of sinful activities in the state, then there will be no more war, pestilence, famine, or natural disturbances. So you see, Prabhupada is going farther than all these modern guys trying to figure out what's going wrong. What's going wrong is people are not following the regulative principles. If they start to follow the regulative principles, then war, meaning violence, pestilence, meaning all kinds of sickness, famine, and natural disturbances will stop. This was actually prevailing during the reign of Maharaj Yudhishthira. If a king or head of the government is able to induce the citizens to become Krishna conscious, then he is worthy to rule over the mass of people. Otherwise, he has no right to levy taxes. Okay, now we have a criterion to understand who is a real king and who is a King Kong. You know who King Kong is? Yeah. So there's a difference between King Kong and a real king. What is that criterion? Krishna 2. To understand the difference between a real king and King Kong.
I don't know.
Taxes.
Yes. Actually, Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This is weird, but like one is a big monkey and one is not.
That is not I think, but I stink. Okay, anybody want to?
Can you repeat that?
Sanskrit, you want to say something?
Can you repeat the question for me?
Okay.
No, not the question.
How do you know? How can you tell the difference between a real king and King Kong or Ding Dong?
Because a real king will try to make their citizens Krishna conscious,
Yes.
whereas a fake king,
Hare Krishna.
whereas a fake king would just try to get money and taxes, but they would not care about the spiritual life of their citizens.
Perfect answer. Okay, perfect answer. Thank you very much.
Boys are not paying attention.
So I'll read that again. An executive head should not be callous to the welfare of the general mass of people while he simply goes on collecting taxes. The king's real duty is to see that the citizens gradually become fully Krishna conscious. In other words, he doesn't say partially Krishna conscious, it's fully Krishna conscious, right? King Krishna conscious means completely free from all sinful activities. So Arush, what does that mean to be Krishna conscious?
To
What?
To be free from all sinful
Hey, wait a minute. Is your name
Devotional
Arush?
service.
Your name is Arush?
No.
Okay, we're going to call him now Arush.
Yeah.
What?
So maybe he's Arush too.
Arush 2. Now you're Arush 2. You're no longer Krishna 1 with his finger in his mouth. You're Arush 2 with your finger in your mouth.
Okay then.
Huh? What did you say?
Do devotional service.
Yeah, but the king, no. Okay, the question is, what is the king's real duty? Hare Krishna.
The king's real duty is to
Hare Krishna.
protect his citizens and make them Krishna conscious.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Then, as soon as there is complete eradication, what's eradication mean? Eradication.
Eradication, like wipe out.
Yeah, raise your hand. Like Augusta raises his hand. Arush too, you should raise your hand. As soon as there is complete eradication of sinful activities in the state, then there will be no more war, pestilence, famine, or natural disturbance. This was actually prevailing during the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira. If a king or head of state or head of government is able to induce the citizens to become Krishna conscious, then he's worthy to rule over the mass of people. Otherwise, he has no right to levy taxes. If the king looks after the spiritual interests of the citizens, he can levy taxes without difficulty. In other words, the citizens will be happy to pay taxes. If there's spiritual education going on and people are improving morally, and no more war, no more pestilence, no more natural disasters, and so forth, then people happily pay taxes because they say, you're doing a fine job. When, okay, Arush too, can you stop playing with Augusta? You want to play 6 feet, please? Let's play 6 feet. Don't play 6 inches. Let's play 6 feet. That's over here. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. We'll all have to wait for you to move 6 feet. Okay. Keep going. Keep going. You're only 3 feet so far. A little bit more. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah, one more big step. Go ahead. Yeah. Well, it's only 5 feet. In this way, both the subjects and the king will be happy during his life, and in the next life, the king will be able to share 1/6 of the pious activities of the citizens. Otherwise, by levying taxes on the sinful citizens, he will have to share the reactions to their sinful activities. This same principle can be applied to parents and spiritual masters as well. So, if parents don't take care of the spiritual education of their children, and the children grow up and become sinful, parents get 1/6 of the sinful reactions. That's why it's a verse that says, don't become a parent, don't become a teacher, don't become a leader, unless you can help the people become Krishna conscious. Otherwise, you're going to get 1/6 of the sinful reactions. Actually, nowadays, there are women who decide never to have children because they don't want to, they want to save the earth from environmental destruction. In fact, I was speaking to one man, he said, I made a big mistake in my life. I said, what was that? He said, you're so successful. I said, no, we only had one son. We only had one child because we believed that it was environmentally bad to have one child. That was a big mistake. We should have had one child. You see how stupid people are? Stupid. Completely stupid. But someone might decide not to have any children because they're not qualified to teach the child how to become Krishna conscious. That's a different, more valid point. You see, in this one purport, many, many things are being explained. Many, many things. And these are all pertinent to today. Yes. So Hare Krishna.
The duty of king is to make sure that the citizens become spiritually advanced, or it's also to look after their material needs. Like, to compare it with Vedan's duty is to look
Okay,
after
now let's
both.
discuss this point. What do you think is the real needs of the people? Is it just roti, makan, kapre? Huh?
Because Prabhupada says that you have to do both your material duties and your spiritual duties. Which means you have to, though spiritual is more important. He says that
Okay. But if you do your spiritual duties, like let's say someone comes to the temple and they say, I want to surrender to Krishna. Are they going to receive roti, makan, kapre?
yeah.
Yeah. Just by doing the spiritual duty. You understand? So you don't really. If people do the spiritual duties, then the roti, makan, kapre, the washing machine, the Samsung 8, whatever, it all comes naturally. But if they just work for roti, makan, kapre, don't do any spiritual duties, then other things come. War, pestilence, famine, disasters. Look what happened in Hawaii. People moved to the big island in Hawaii because it's like paradise. Now it's like Nada. You know how many houses have been destroyed in Hawaii so far? 600. Every day there's a new, let's say, crack in the soil, and then out comes lava, melted rock, 1,300 degrees, 1,500 degrees. And it just slowly moves like this and destroys your house. And you can't do anything. America has the strongest army in the world. They can't do anything. They can't stop the lava. So, what do you think, let me ask the question again. What do you think is the real need of the people?
Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, it's the only thing that's lacking in this world. And there's plenty of cars. There are plenty of cars. There's plenty of, meat. There's plenty of golf courses. There's plenty of movies. What is there not plenty of? Yeah, that's the only thing lacking. Everything else is there. You have volcanoes and lava. That's plenty of that. The only thing that's not there is Krishna consciousness. That's what people really need. We have to become convinced of that. Then, like yourself, you come out on Sankirtan to give the people what they really need, not this phony nonsense. Roti, makan, kapre. See, America has the same thing. They don't say roti, makan, kapre. They say 2 cars in your driveway, chicken every Sunday, and a washing machine and dryer. It's the same thing, roti, makan, kapre. But they say it, this is the American way of saying it. This is what, the 1950s, 1960s politicians used to give speeches like that. Everybody will have 2 cars in the driveway, they'll have chicken every Sunday. If they want it, they can have it every day. They just go to Kentucky Fried Chicken. And they will have, washing machine and a dryer. Well, now we take it for granted, washing machine and a dryer. But, 60 years ago, washing machine and dryer was a big thing. right? And television also. So that's what they were promising people, and they would vote. Okay. This same principle can be applied to parents and spiritual masters as well. That is, if you don't teach them your dependence properly, you get 1/6 of their sinful activities. If parents simply give birth to children like cats and dogs, but cannot save their children from imminent death, they become responsible for the activities of their animalistic children. Lately, such children are turning into hippies. That was in the 1970s. Now you can say they're turning into Black Lives Matter. They're turning into marijuana junkies and so forth. You know. Similarly, if a spiritual master cannot direct his disciples to become free of sinful activities, he becomes responsible for their sinful acts. These subtle laws of nature are unknown to the present leaders of society. Since the leaders of society have a poor fund of knowledge, and the citizens in general are rogues and thieves, there cannot be an auspicious situation for human society. At the present moment, the whole world is full of such an incompatible combination of state and citizens, and therefore there is constant tension, war, and anxiety as an inevitable result of such social conditions. This is written many, many years ago by Prabhupada. It's exactly right. And this was also explained about Maharaj Prithu and Maharaj Yudhisthira. Okay, so are there any questions? You see this one little purport. There was 2 paragraphs, very short purport. You have a lot of information. See how Prabhupada has written. The Bhagavad Gita is the essence, but then it's expanded in Srimad Bhagavatam tremendously. So, any questions? What time is it now?
9:45.
I think we'll stop there, unless there's a question. Where's Arush too? Did he leave?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because his mom has what to do tomorrow. Okay, thank you very much. Hari Bol. Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. You want to know what's happening today. You remain in the state of ajnana. Just be confused. What's Trump doing? What's going on? I don't understand. No, now we understand. And the more you read, the more understanding you get. You suddenly realize, wait a minute, how did he know all this? How could he write all this? Because he's dealing with transcendental knowledge. This is not mundane knowledge. The mundaners, they keep coming up with theories that are all wrong. As soon as they figure out their theory was wrong that they practiced for 50 years, they come up with another theory that's wrong. And they go another 50 years with misconception. And everything here is transcendental. It is absolute truth. It's not dependent on speculation. So we should, this is real education. We shouldn't waste our time with junk education. Any